Hey everyone. I'm so excited y'all are here on this amazing sunny morning. I'm currently in California and the sun is pretty intense right now, so I'm so happy to be here. And I'm so excited to discuss a topic that's super important to me, which is creative exclusive spaces. But before we start our conversation, I would love to introduce you a few of the powerful women creating these spaces of inclusivity in their communities. I'm going to start with you, Valerie. Tell us a little bit about yourself, but don't go too deep because we're going to get to more about you later on.
Thanks, Billion. Hi, everyone. My name is Valerie. You can call me Val. I use she, her, hers pronouns, and I'm the founder and the CEO of the Validation Project, which is a global youth empowerment organization I founded from my experience of being bullied when I was 14. And now we work with K through 12 students all around the world to make sure they have the resources and support they need to feel empowered and to change the world.
Wow. Jenna?
Hi, my name is Jenna Zapata, and I'm the creative director of Zigzag Galleries, which is located in Denison, Texas, which is super North Texas. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm super excited to be here.
Thank you. Kendall?
Hi, I'm Kendall Renee. I am 23 years old. I use she, hers pronouns. I am a singer-songwriter and recording artist full-time, but I also, on the side, I was born with a rare medical condition that's almost taken my life many times. So I'm also a disability and activist, role model advocate for people that have disabilities. And so that's a big part of the reason I'm so excited to be here with you guys.
Yay. And Keely?
Hi, my name is Keely Cat Wells, and I'm the CEO and founder of C Talent, which is a talent management company that represents deaf and disabled artists. I'm also a disability activist and do a few other things, inclusive accessibility consulting, and various other things that I'm sure we'll get into later on.
Oh, thank you. And the best for last, Christine.
Hi, my name is Christine Rodriguez, and I am the founder and CEO of Girl Collective. Girl Collective is a lifestyle brand for girls that give an F, and we focus on donating 20% of our proceeds to funding girls' education in India, where I also volunteer every year. And we also donate to Black Lives Matter and Raíces in Texas.
Oh, thanks everyone for being here. So, just so everyone knows, earlier this year, Aerie introduced their hashtag Aerie Real Changemakers initiative toward 20 real and inspiring individuals with financial grants to help them on their journey in making the world a better place. The brand is excited to introduce this incredible group of women who represent entrepreneurs, community activists, and more. Those sharing these these stories with the world. Thank you for sharing these experiences with the world and with the Aerie community. So we're gonna start with these questions. I would love for y'all to tell me what makes your specific space inclusive. Anyone like to start? I can start picking names.
I will jump in. So for me, I think to create a truly inclusive space, it starts with just asking the right questions and asking what people's needs are and how they might need different things to other people that creates not special treatment, but equal treatment and true equality. And I think for me, that's what truly inclusive spaces kind of are to me.
100%. It goes sometimes a little bit more than accessibility for sure.
Right.
Yeah. I would absolutely. It's so hard with this.
Go ahead, girl.
No, go ahead. Seriously, go, girl, go.
Okay, I was just gonna say, with Girl Collective, I think since the beginning, I've made it a point to be very inclusive. I wanted to reflect the way that all women of color exist in all the different ways that we exist. Being a member of the Latinx community, I just hadn't really been able to look at a lot of brands and see myself, my cousins, my family reflected. And I also grew up with a sister who had a disability, and she was terminal. And she did pass away in 2006. And I think she was born when I was 4 years old. And so from a very young age, I became aware of just understanding everybody's stories, understanding everybody's circumstances. And I think that that's something that has inherently led me to build as much of an inclusive space as possible for women all over the world.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's absolutely amazing. That's all.
Thank you.
I get a lot of the times where people are really unsure of how to create an inclusive space, where to begin. So I kind of want to ask you all, how did you figure out how to make your space inclusive for everyone? Valerie?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing was recognizing that no one knows everything. Being able to ask for help and look at what do I know from my personal experiences and where are the gaps in what I know, and recognizing that leading a movement 95% of the time means being on the backstage of it. Being in before this, we were in the green room, and being in that green room and making sure that we're providing equitable resources to lift each other up, and moving further into that, looking at everything we do from an equitable landscape and recognizing that every person we're working with is going to need different resources, different support, an inclusive space or a safe space for someone. We might need to dig a little deeper for somebody else, and making sure that the resources are there so that proactively when someone walks in the room, that it looks like an inclusive space for them and for the person behind them and for the person behind them as well.
Absolutely. Jenna, who would like to go?
Yeah, I kind of like took what Keely said to heart. One of my biggest things that I've found is how we all kind of got started. We've had other conversations too, but it's really based off of, unfortunately, our own experiences and things that we've been, experienced but have been inspired to change, which is awesome that we have the platform to do that. For me, I sold my first photograph. I'm a photographer in 7th grade in an art gallery. And I was like, oh my gosh, you made $100, I'm famous, all this kind of stuff. But it really did impact my life. And I went back to school and I was looking at all my friends who I viewed as better artists than me. And I was so, confused and worried about why they weren't entering art galleries. And then I realized the fallacy behind the creative spaces. And like when you walk into an art gallery, most of the time, most people don't come into because they don't feel welcome. They don't feel like they have enough money. They don't feel like they're a good enough artist to be in there or they can showcase their work. So I really got inspired and transitioned from being an artist featured in galleries to wanting to be able to provide an inclusive space to help people in my community feel welcome and accepted regardless of their experience level or their age or sexuality or anything like that. So that really pushed me and is my drive to have an inclusive space and make sure everyone feels, welcome to create, because that's one of the things we do for self-expression. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That was so beautifully said. And yes, I agree. I think it definitely goes further into the conversation, keeping a place, welcome and not, pre-assumptions before coming in. So that's super important. How do you all keep things authentic to like your brand, your company?
I personally, for me as an artist, I think the most important thing for me, which is so funny that now I've partnered with Aerie, is Aerie Real. My whole thing is being real. And so kind of like we were just talking about, something that is frustrating, and I'm sure almost everyone on this panel can speak to, honestly, it's just not feeling represented. For me, that's due to my disability, but for other people, it can be from a list of different reasons. And so it was really important for me to be authentic about the fact that I do have a feeding tube, I do have a medical condition, and to just be very open about that, because if I'm not, then the next little girl that might happen to be listening to music that day, or happen to be online shopping, or these kind of things, they might not get the chance to see somebody that represents them. And that is intimidating, because it means me being vulnerable in that and showing, okay, these are the things that I have, this is my disability, and being honest about it. But I think part of being real and authentic in that is being vulnerable, and that's scary, but it also is the strongest superpower that we have in reaching other people and showing them that they're not alone.
Yeah, no, it's so sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I completely agree, and I really relate to that as well. And I think for people with invisible disabilities, often it's very difficult to feel represented in the media because they are invisible and
Yes.
they don't get talked about a lot on film and TV, and you don't see them. So it's like, well, where am I? So I think it really does take really strong people to be able to talk out about their invisible disability. So it does make other people feel heard and seen. And I love that you said that.
Yeah, and now like
Absolutely.
touching on digital media, which is great. That I'm glad you brought that up. How do you keep your digital platform as inclusive as possible? I try really hard to tell people about captioning, about the image descriptions, even if it's in the video, or even if it's a photo from like the inside. I know a lot of people don't know that in the advanced settings there is like an image capturing too, but it's so hidden in there. So I guess my question is, how do you keep your own platform or your own website as inclusive as possible? Christina, would you like to answer?
Yeah. I think that that's something that I'm really working on when it comes to the captions and everything, because I think pre-TikTok, I wasn't super aware of that. And I think that TikTok has made everyone a little bit more aware of that. As far as Girl Collective goes, our following is twice as big on TikTok as it is on Instagram. So that's been something that I've been trying to come up with. Like, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you have such limited time to do everything when you're running the business on your own. And so that's definitely something that I am working on exclusively actually in the next like couple of weeks with TikTok content. And on our Instagram, I would say that the inclusivity of, I guess, like how Kendall was saying about being vulnerable and talking about all of these different things, that issues that women deal with, issues that everybody deals with, and really discussing things that, you know, like mental health or different things that people go through. I think that that's been something that more people reply to or more people can relate to than I ever imagined, you know? And so I think keeping the spaces diverse and inclusive in my terms is also being reflective in all of our photo shoots. We have done photo shoots with all different kinds of models and, you know, gender non-binary and all, you know, from young girls to older women, everything in between. And so that's been something for me that I want every woman to be able to look on Girl Collective and see themselves reflected in some way. And we also do IGTVs called Sharing Experiences, which is about women of color sharing their different experiences. So whether it has to do with, you know, sexual assault or having an invisible illness, anything like that, that is something that we are open to talking about because we want everybody to feel like they are being seen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's so important that major companies as well do have captions to their stories and do have image descriptions because they have such immense power to make incredible impact. And I think if people start seeing that and that these big companies are doing it, then it'll catch on just like any other trend. You know, I hate to call it a trend, but it kind of has to be. But as well, I wish companies would maybe do it as well out of integrity as well as out of the opportunity, because obviously there is huge opportunity and it's another whole market of business which people could be tapping into. But if they did that from an integral place, I think it would make a huge difference.
It's interesting because the disability community is so ginormous and it's one that's inviting of everyone, literally. You know, you can wake up tomorrow and be part of the community. So I think it's interesting, as you were saying, Keely, that a lot of big companies don't take it as seriously as I believe that they should, just because it wouldn't only benefit like one specific community, it would benefit literally the whole world. And this next question I love talking about because it's a favorite of mine, tokenism. How do we deal with tokenism in all of our communities? Kendall, would you like to answer that one?
I feel like this is actually something that I have to deal with and live out on a daily basis. I think most of us do. And it's hard as a singer-songwriter, as an artist. A lot of times when I'm auditioning for an opportunity or when I am putting myself out there, putting my music out there, oftentimes it's one of two things. Sometimes they genuinely like the music and they want to share the positivity of the story, which is amazing. And other times I feel, and I can definitely, you can just read the room and feel the situation, especially with the questions that they ask. Sometimes it feels as if, oh, this is a sob story that we can use, like, oh, the underdog, like they have a disability and this will get us ratings and those kinds of things, whether it's a TV show, podcast, any of the above, or whether I'm just at a songwriting opportunity. And that happens more than I would like it to. And then other times it's funny. It's like you're either viewed as a token or you're viewed as a liability. There's like really no in between of just being celebrated as you. And I think that's something that we need to work on. I think seeing individuals with disabilities as people and not seeing them as just the disability and the way that you can use that to your agenda, but also just seeing us for our talents, for the things that we can bring to the table aside from that. And I think tokenism is something that unfortunately has made its way into every industry in a lot of ways, on multiple different standpoints, and multiple different issues. You know, it's not just disability, it's showcasing people of color, it's showcasing people, the LGBTQ community. We need to do that, we need to do that instinctively. We need to do that all the time. But for some reason, tokenism tends to kind of bring its way into these situations, and it's frustrating. But I have hope that eventually we'll get to a place where the people just get the part, or the people are just asked to do this opportunity because they're the best for it. And there is a more diverse community, whether that be people of color or people with disabilities or etc. We need something more equal. We need a more equal playing field. And I think that's sort of what we're all kind of striving for.
Yeah, I think definitely it has to do with like the opportunities given, to, different kind of people to, because I always say it's okay to be the token person, but as long as you take advantage of the platform that you're using and bring on more people along with you, then that's at least a start, and we can start switching up, the conversation, dealing with communities like such. Which I think hopefully we're at the beginning stages by having conversations like this, Jenna, have you witnessed like any awesome person that's, that's in your community that you're like, yes, this is where we want to be?
Yeah, definitely. I when I was in middle school, my teacher, we used to have a book, and it was called an aha moment. And every single day we would write our like aha moments down and kind of finding like our why, and different things like that. When I was in high school, when I first started thinking about curating and being an art gallery owner, one of my favorite things to do was to curate shows, and I helped middle and high school students enter. And not only seeing the transformation with that particular person and that particular artist, but also seeing their parents transform. Because normally with like art shows in school, it's just they got a participation award and their family and friends came. But when you invite the public to come and watch, and they sit back and they watch other people in the community value them, regardless of knowing their age, regardless of knowing how long they were in school for that particular piece or anything like that. To see that transformation on their face of coming in super scared and then leaving with so much confidence and excitement, it has really been my why. I had a girl come in, and she came into the gallery, looked at all the art around, and I, slowly started to have that conversation. It is an inclusive space, so I'm not kind of like, oh, are you an artist? You should enter right now. Like, give me all of your artwork. Definitely not that kind of thing. But slowly entering that conversation of, oh, you're an artist, how's it going? She came back the next week, sat with me for 3 hours, talking about her creative, mindset and how she wanted to create and self-express. And then she ended up entering 2 pieces of my show, and she sold both of them. And every single one of her friends and family came. There's probably like 25 people coming to look at her pieces. And to see her confidence boost and how much excitement she had at the end of it was just, it made me feel so good just seeing her being able to have that confidence and truly believe in herself, how she should at the beginning. So that was one of my favorite moments so far.
That sounds so awesome, actually, and it's like, wow, like you like get to sit back and see that happening. That must have you're like, no, not gonna cry, not today.
Yeah, definitely, it's such a transformation.
Valerie, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, I think my answer to this question kind of goes in a little bit to what we were talking about tokenism. The validation project does a lot of different things with students of all ages, and the main thing that we work with is to make sure that whatever space that student is walking into, whether that's now on Zoom where school is or wherever else their life is taking them, that they know their worth, they know that they have a support system, and they know that no matter what their age, identity, or situation is, that they can use that worth and that power to be able to help others in the world. And one of the ways that we do that is through a program called Trailblazers, where we provide students in underserved communities with the ability to be able to have college coaching and higher education coaching, or if they wish to go off to vocational school, coaching for that as well. We do this on a national scale, partnering with different organizations and companies for the students to be able to get career field trips and see what it looks like to be able to see someone of their identity or of their background or who has some form of the same story as they do something that they're interested in. And we also do it on more of a micro scale, working with a school in the town that I went to college in Allentown, Pennsylvania, to be able to provide students with a college prep program there. And for me, this kind of intersects with what we were talking about with tokenism, because when I was applying to college, I really experienced the tokenism aspect that it can come with when you're working with institutions, when you need to not only be accepted, but also as a low-income student, need to also make sure that you're getting that federal financial aid and that scholarship, and being forced into that tokenism space of like, these are my bullet points, this is who I am, this is, I think it was Kendall that was saying, my sob story, and that's your in to be able to get into this space that's not at all inclusive for students if they're not wealthy or able-bodied or white or cisgender, to be able to get into those spaces. So we do that with different students at that school in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We've done it for 2 years, activating 50 students so far to be able to get college coaching from mentors that are college students, who are simultaneously providing mentoring for these students while they're also learning about the issues that are affecting these students have these struggles on the government scale, on the global scale, systemically as well.
Wow. I'm like, yes, sign me up. Yes, that's amazing.
After this,
Christine, what about yourself?
Yes. Yeah, I would say this is kind of a twofold with when I started Girl Collective, doing back to girls education in India and going back and seeing those girls every year and taking more volunteers every year with me. What I have seen as we do workshops with the girls, so one of the workshops that we did was just about future career choices and jobs. And, with these girls, they're not always taught about all the options. They're taught about 3 options, and that's pretty much it. And so getting to teach them about different things like being a fashion designer or a dance teacher or different things like that. The following year when we went back after the year that we did the workshop, one of the girls was telling all of the other girls and some of the new volunteers and stuff that had come, she's like, yeah, I want to be a fashion designer. That's what I'm good at. And I also, and it just I was just overhearing her, and it just lit up my heart, because I was like, she had no idea what that was a year ago, and now that's what she dreams about. That's what she's striving for, And so we definitely try to open these girls' minds and hearts to be able to see things that maybe other people aren't showing them. We've done a vision board workshop with them, talking about traveling and being able to see things even within their own town and country, and we're going other places. And that's been so wonderful to see them say things like, I want to travel when I get older, because they really didn't even know what that was before. And then I think with the online community for Girl Collective, I get a lot of messages and emails about just these girls who take time out of their day to say things to me and the brand like, you know, I didn't see myself reflected, and your brand really makes me feel seen. And there's certain things of, like, I talk a lot about having empathy, and how I used to feel like that was a weakness of mine, because I was always so empathetic to everyone's situation that sometimes it felt like it would overtake me. And so I always felt like that was a weakness. I come from working in the entertainment industry and the music industry, where that was seen as a weakness, you know. And so now I think talking about it being a superpower, and other girls being able to relate to that and say, like, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel, and that's, you know, I want to turn this into something bigger, and Girl Collective has inspired me to do that, is just amazing. Like, this one girl actually sent me a message, and she went to Mexico to volunteer because she had seen what I had done in India, and she literally did one of the workshops that we did in India with the girls. And she sent me photos. I had never met this girl. We don't know each other. And she sent me all these photos, and she was like, I just wanted you to know that Girl Collective and your trip and your journey has inspired me to do this. And I literally was laying in my bed crying, because it was like the first thing I saw in the morning. And I was just crying, and I was like, this is exactly what this is for. Like, it could not be more beautiful. And so to hear that stuff, and anybody watching, like, if you follow other people's journeys and you love, you know, what they're doing, like, it really does help for us to hear some of that, because some days are hard, and some days you are running off of very little sleep, and there's a lot going on. And for anybody to take the time out of their own day to tell you how positively you're impacting them is like, oh, it's just beautiful.
But that's what happens when you give that opportunity to create space for different kinds of people and different kinds of representation. You know, it helps, like, mentally. I feel like, and I want to, you know, speak to everyone that, like, when I was younger, specifically, if I just saw that representation, like, my mental health would have been so much better. I would have been, like, cruising along, you know. And that just has to do with, you know, the spaces we give for people to be authentically themselves in, you know, our surroundings. Before we go, because we're like at the crunch of time, I'd love to, like, go around and if everyone can, you know, speak to the audience about, you know, your spaces or what you're doing and how they can be involved, or, you know, a piece of advice. I would love to hear it. So I think we all would. Like, Jenna, would you like to start?
Yeah, so Zigzag Galleries is an inclusive art gallery space. Zigzag stands for my last name, so Zapata Image Gallery, since I'm a photographer, and Zapata Art Gallery. I'm also a super big, like, secondhand, like, slow fashion, you know, thrifter, so I'm really excited to be able to bring in some cool pieces. I'm a plus size girl, so I include sizes all the way that I can, all size inclusive. And then we also have a small shop of handmade items from local makers that other small businesses. I purchase things from them wholesale and sell them in my shop, to include all different kinds of artists. And then I also put on workshops, fun crafty workshops, girls' nights, as well as kids' workshops. And I'm just really trying to get out there and have an inclusive space and allow all artists of all ages, doesn't matter your experience level or how old you are, to come and create. And I'm just super excited and blessed to have, you know, my space and be able to be in the opportunity, you know, the position that I'm in, to be able to do that. So I'm super, super excited.
Thank you. Kendall, would you like to know?
Yeah, so I recently, actually, if you'd like to check it out, I wrote a song called Better Is Coming, and we made a music video with Aerie's partnership, and it is called Better Is Coming, obviously, but you can find that anywhere that music is streamed and sold, and then you can see the video on my YouTube channel under Kendall Renee. But the reason that this video is so important is the entire video showcases people with disabilities and tells their stories, and I'm very, very proud of it and very honored that I was finally able to make this dream come true, as I've been trying to make this video for so many years. And I'm just so proud of its message and how it represents.
Well, we're all going to watch the video, obviously. Christine, would you like to?
Everybody follow us at Girl Collective. You can see here in big writing. And we're on Instagram and TikTok, and our website is where all of our merch is available. I would say that if I had advice for anybody, it would be to keep going. I think that there's a lot of people who have dealt with a lot of things in their life, and you know, not all of our stories when we're going through them seem to be perfect or easy or beautiful. And I will say that sometimes they do lead you to be in the most beautiful places in your life. And I feel like that's where I'm finally at. And so I just, if anyone else is dealing with things like that and they feel like they can't do it, I promise you, just keep going and keep working at it. And yeah, I hope to continue seeing all of the Aerie Changemakers and everybody. Like, it's just so inspiring to be in the same realm as all of you. So thank you.
Agree. Keely, you'd like to
Yeah.
take it away?
I love that advice. It's so true. I remember going through the worst time in my life. I was in hospital for many years, and then I became disabled, and I thought it was the end of the world. But now looking back, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. So if you are going through a terrible time, I'm sure you'll be able to make something brilliant come out of it. And you know, it's amazing what you find and what you see through a different perspective and a different lens. And so we represent artists with disabilities and get them in the media and film and TV. So I would just say go and watch them and watch their work as well, and supporting them supports us. And we represent people like CJ Jones, and we represent some Paralympians, and yeah, just seeing them do amazing and is incredible. So go and check them out too.
Yeah, I have homework to do now for sure. there's a lot of things I've learned, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you to be here. Oh no, somebody else left. Oh well, we're having a little technical difficulties, but we I learned so much, and I'm so grateful for you all to be here. And I'm definitely going to be keeping you under my radar to and then share it with everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.